CEO Ronald Hickler from Creating the Difference. We're going to talk to you today about two new balls, Incognito Pearl and Zenith Pearl. One from Radical, one from Brunswick. We're going to talk a little bit about the performance of these two bowling balls and show you how they perform on our house pattern, which is actually High Street. So first we're going to do is scan these bowling balls and just kind of get a rough idea of what the surface is, the surface grit of these bowling balls is. Incognito Pearl is at 5,000 grit. However, Zenith Pearl is at 5,300 plus, which means we've got two different grit surfaces that we can also look at as part of this test. So we're going to have our bowler Dustin throw some shots. We're going to bowl on two different lane surfaces. We're actually going to bowl on Pro Anvil lane on lane 1 and SPL on lane 2. So we'll have Dustin throw some shots. We'll track them using clutch and specto. We'll start with the Incognito Pearl first. Now, let's talk a little bit about this pattern. So this pattern, as you can see, is pretty long. High Street is a fairly long pattern. It is a house pattern, and you can tell that by kind of the funnel of the blue, like the oil kind of funnels toward the pocket. And what that does is that allows you that when you miss in, for the ball to be able to hold, and when you miss out, for the ball to be able to hook. Now, both of these balls are pearls, which means that we may have to play a little straighter angle through the front to be able to get these bowling balls to do what they're supposed to do, which is a wicked back-end reaction. So now he's squared up a little bit, and there you go. So you can see right there's a pretty big difference between those two shots, which this is also a key if you're a bowler and you're bowling in an environment that you're unfamiliar with, is to look to kind of find the friction. Obviously that shot, we found the friction with the Incognito Pearl, and it went sideways. So now we're gonna switch balls, and we're gonna do the exact same thing with the Zenith Pearl and kind of see how it performs. So there's the Zenith Pearl a little further right, and we let the 2-pin. Now that makes a lot of sense, right? For two reasons. One, because the Zenith Pearl is a shinier cover stock. It has a shinier cover stock on it, a higher grit finish, which means the ball's going to go a little bit longer before it makes that move. So because of that, if you're gonna use that ball, you're gonna wanna square up even more to the right to get the ball to the friction a little bit even earlier to get that ball to come back like it's supposed to. What that also means is these two balls could be a really, really good 1-2 combination. So we're gonna throw that Zenith Pearl again right here. So we got it further right. So that wasn't a good pitch, right? The ball was even further right that time. You can see that the white is the existing shot and the yellow was the prior shot. And now it changes back, so you can see that shot was just too far right. But in order to get these balls to be that combination we're looking for, you're gonna have to be able to figure out where on the lane you gotta play, and then you can use that to be able to play the two bowling balls off of each other. Both of these are strong, high performance balls from respective companies, Radical and Brunswick. Both of these may be options that you may wanna put in your bag. Square up to it, 10 back. So you can see that. You can definitely see there's a difference there. And as a result of that, we're able to get that bowling ball to do what it's supposed to do, which is give us a nice strike. Now, with that being said, we're gonna have him throw the Radical ball right in that exact same spot. I wanna see the Incognito there. We can see if he does it too, because the yellow line doesn't lie. The new line will be white and then it changes yellow as we're only keeping one shot on the lane. So we're gonna watch and see how this ball, the Incognito Pearl, performs. So it's in just a little bit, which being a stronger cover, right? Or a more aggressive curve cover, gonna be more responsive. So what that tells me is that two things. One, these balls would be great complements to each other because you're gonna be able to see different motions, but similar shape. So both balls are gonna give you that angular ball motion, but they're gonna give you two different versions of it, right? The Zenith Pearl is a little bit longer, a little bit later, and the Incognito Pearl is definitely more responsive to the friction. So we're gonna throw that Incognito Pearl again. That's gonna be 10 back. Yeah, I mean, that ball goes through the pins really, really well. And you can see that shot was definitely different than the last shot. And that's kind of what we want to show here. We want to kind of show you some of the differences in the bowling balls, not only performance differences, but also just differences in terms of when maybe you should use what ball. So Incognito Pearl of the two is the stronger one. It also has a more aggressive surface grit to it. So now we're gonna switch to that Zenith Pearl, which means it's gotta be a little straighter through the front in order to get that bowling ball to do what it's supposed to do. But you can look, I mean, the shape is pretty much the same. He missed wide right again, wide right, that's an 8-pin, but nonetheless, wide right, the ball does not fully recover because of the wide right shot. So we'll square up with the Zenith Pearl. And then we'll switch pairs, because what you'll find interesting is once we get to the other lane, we'll actually be able to see a little more friction. So this is the Zenith Pearl. And you can see 10 back. So now we're gonna switch lanes. We're gonna go on lane 2 because lane 2 is the same pattern, but there's more friction. So over here, what you're gonna see is you're probably gonna see more ball motion out of that Zenith Pearl than the radical Incognito Pearl. And the reason being is because of the finish, 1, and then 2, this surface has more friction inherently built into it, which, like I said, is gonna make these two balls actually a great 1-2 combination. So here's the Incognito Pearl. That's going through the face. Yeah, much, much stronger ball motion as you would expect due to the fact that this surface is more friction. Now, that's a lesson in and of itself. SPL, which is an AMF surface, is a higher friction than the Brunswick Pro Anvilane, which is what we bowled on a minute ago. So in order to make this work, I would be willing to tell you that the Zenith Pearl is probably going to be fine right here. It's probably going to roll just great on this particular environment, and the Incognito obviously was a little too aggressive. So we'll watch and see how the shots are. I mean, you can see that ball is right on top of the other ball. Right on top for a while, and then obviously through the face. So what that says, like I said, is simply put, the Incognito is more total hook, still angular, but more total hook. The Zenith Pearl is longer and more angular when you've got friction. So that's a really, really good explanation and a really good example of why you could use these as a 1-2 combination. So he's gonna take the Incognito Pearl, he's gonna have to move left now in order to get that bowling ball to go 10 back. It's just a stronger ball. In more oil, out to the friction.
Ho, ho, ho.
Going logs over here to be able to kick out the corner pin. Now, that gives you a good example of what that ball does. Now, same spot with the Zenith Pearl, and you're gonna be able to watch what happens to the ball reaction when we throw it in a similar spot, in more oil. So that's a similar line, further right though. So if it's further right, the ball's not gonna recover as well. Obviously that shot kind of proves that. And you'd wanna be squared up a little bit more if you're gonna make that Zenith Pearl work better on this particular environment, just because that's the difference. Like the Incognito Pearl is definitely the stronger, more bigger total hook piece. The Zenith Pearl is the piece that is longer, more angular. So what you would typically do is you start off with the Incognito Pearl, and then as the lanes begin to transition and break down, you would just switch to the Zenith Pearl and be in a really, really good position, good spot. So we're gonna cut the lights on now. Just throw a few more shots with both these bowling balls, just to kind of show you kind of where they work best. So on lane 2, we're gonna use the Zenith Pearl because that's gonna be the better piece on the higher friction surface. And then on lane 1, we'll throw the Incognito Pearl because that's gonna be the better piece on the lower friction surface. So depending on what surface you have at your house, you may wanna get either one of these balls or both. Wrap 10 pin, we'll do that one more time. We're gonna go down here and show you a little bit about that too. I wanna go down here now. So we'll go a little bit closer to the pins. I want to watch how the ball goes through the pins because that matters. And I think one of the benefits of throwing an angular piece is that it's easier to be able to watch that ball go through the pins. And you'll want to watch this ball kind of split the 8-9, right? Because if the 8-9 is the key to understanding that you've got a really solid ball motion here. So we're gonna have Dustin throw another shot, just like that, just like that. So now we'll go back to lane 1 because, like I said, lane 1 is where the Incognito Pearl is going to shine. That ball definitely is the stronger of the two pieces. It just needs more oil. But both balls exhibit the same angular shape that we're talking about. So now we're going to throw the Incognito Pearl on the lower friction surface, which is the Brunswick Pro Anvilane. Look at that, kicking out the corner, kicking out the 4-pin actually. So now you got a little more information, a little bit of insight between these two bowling balls. If you're interested in them, you can go to bowlingforless.com and pick up either the new Radical Incognito Pearl or the new Brunswick Zenith Pearl. Both bowling balls are available on bowlingforless.com. Also, if you like this video, like what we're doing here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Maybe even go to ctdeducationcenter.com and get some more information about how you can come here and actually do some practicing, and use some of the technology that we have here to help you become a better bowler. So with that being said, my name is CEO Ron from Creating the Difference. Talk to you soon.